How you doing? Daniel Mosnet with Cowboy Charcoal, and we have some fantastic big game recipes for you today. We are kicking off the big game in a big way with some 17th Street tangy pit beans. Now we're taking a few liberties with these beans. We're adding some compart Duroc bacon, maybe add a ham hock. We're cooking it on our charcoal pellets, which we'll talk about. Charcoal pellets in addition to the wood pellets give you that same charcoal flavor that you're used to, while the ease of the pellet grill. We have Frito boats that we're making. We're making some Frito pies. Chef Stephen Khalil at the Frito Test Kitchen, he showed me my first Frito pie, and I gotta tell you, it changed my life. I thought, I'm a West Coast guy, healthy eating, all of that, and I saw my first Frito pie. I said, I don't think I can do it. But I tasted it, and I'm telling you, it's gonna change your life. Let's talk about pellets and pellet grills. So a lot of barbecue purists out there are gonna say pellet grills, I don't know, I can't do it. A pellet grill works absolutely fantastic when you have something like beans that's gonna need a long time to cook and you're really not gonna have to come out and babysit. A little bit like an outdoor oven, but it still is able to get you some of that wood and charcoal smoke. So today we're gonna use Cowboy Charcoal Pellets. I'm gonna fill up my hopper here with our charcoal pellets. And we'll talk a little bit about charcoal pellets as compared to regular wood pellets. So you can see with Cowboy Charcoal Pellets, we have a nice dark pellet, which is something that's very different from the traditional wood pellets that you're looking for, or that you find when you go and pick up your pellets. These charcoal pellets are made with about 25 to 30% Cowboy oak and hickory lump charcoal. You can see they're nice and dark and black. And what's that going to do? That's going to bring in some of the natural charcoal smoke and that natural charcoal flavor to the food that you're cooking. So if I ever use a pellet grill, I'm always using charcoal pellets. Sometimes you get a little bit too much of that wood flavor. Charcoal pellets are going to help you alleviate a lot of that. So we've loaded up our hopper here with Cowboy. We're using the charcoal and apple today. We're going to close that down a little bit, make sure we're up to temperature. Raise that temperature up a little bit. We're going to want to set that temperature at about 375. So let's get started. First, we're going to take our compart Duroc bacon. We're going to render that bacon out. We're going to get some nice chunky pieces. We'll add a ham hock. Let's talk a little bit about a ham hock and beans. So there's a couple of different ways. We're doing these beans today where we have our beans that are already cooked. We're just opening cans and putting them in. If you're using beans that you're taking from a package where you have to soak them overnight and really cook them a long time, that's where you want to add some ham hock. Ham hock is really something that is going to need about 2 to 3 hours to cook. So you make sure you render all that fat, you cook all that meat, and it really cooks down. So a couple of different thoughts with beans. You can either kind of cook them fast with cans of beans like we're going to show you how to do today, or you can take 3 to 4 hours and cook them all day long and throw ham hocks in there and that meat renders out, and boy, the flavors are just absolutely fantastic. Some of the other key things that we're going to add today, we talked a little bit about our compart Duroc bacon. Now this bacon is the thick cut, and I mean, just take a look at this bacon. It is, when we're talking about thick cut bacon, that's the piece of bacon that we're talking about. It is just a monster. So we're going to use this bacon in a couple of ways. We're going to take the bacon, we've chopped it up, we've cooked it down just a little bit, we've saved a little bit of the rendering, which is what is absolutely key to making this recipe taste fantastic. And then we're going to lay 2 more strips. We're going to lay this right on top of our beans and just let that cook for about an hour. We're going to let all of that render out. That flavor is just going to seep through all the beans, and man, you're going to fall over with how good this tastes. First thing we're going to do is take a large bowl and get prepped. We're going to take about 5 different types of beans. Today you can see that we're using some red beans. We're using some pinto beans that were actually in a chili starter that we've all rinsed. We're using some black beans. We're using some white beans. Really any beans that you like. I like to have different colored beans in my pot of beans because it makes for a little bit more texture, it makes for a little bit more color, and when you get that bowl, it looks kind of cool because you have several different colors of beans in there. So we're gonna add all of our beans. I like to add them to one side of my bowl. So you've got all the beans on one side, and you've got a little bit of an opening on the other side. That gives you plenty of room to add all of your other ingredients and then combine everything together. So for our ingredients, we're going to add about 3 cups of ketchup. We're going to add a couple of tablespoons of French's mustard. French's regular old yellow mustard. Don't get fancy, just regular old yellow mustard. We're going to add some brown sugar right to the pot. We'll add a little bit of honey. You could add sorghum here. Some people add agave, whatever you like, whatever flavor you like that's going to make it nice and sweet. And then this is really the secret. You have to get the Peace, Love, and Barbecue cookbook to get the magic dust recipe, right? But we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of magic dust. And then to that, we're going to mix together all of our ingredients. You want to get all of that brown sugar incorporated in the ketchup and the mustard. Okay, once that's all incorporated, you could do this first and then add your beans if you want. I just kind of do it on the side. Okay, once that's nice and incorporated, you can see how we're all mixed in there. Then you want to gently fold in your beans. Okay, so now you can see that we've got bunch of colors. We've got all of our flavors, and we're going to let that just sit and come together for a couple of minutes while we prepare our grill and get our pot going. This is, kind of a quintessential one-pot meal that you can have right on the grill. So now that we've got all of this incorporated, we're going to add our pork and beans. Just good old Vandy Camp's pork and beans. There's a few different varieties out there. My favorite's Vandy Camp's. I'm telling you, you got to try it. And then we're going to add some Bush's chili beans. I like to get the chili beans with the chili starter in it. Adds a little bit more flavor there as well. So we'll just add those 2. Fold those in and just be gentle. Use a nice, simple rubber spoon, rubber spatula, and just go nice and slow, nice and easy. Okay? Get our pot that's preheated. So now to our pot, we're going to add our previously cooked compart bacon. Now, if you can see the bacon here, I just slightly sauteed it, right? I got it a little bit crispy, but I didn't completely cook it. I want a lot of that to cook. So don't take your bacon too far. Just make sure you have a nice, easy saute. We'll add that, and then we'll add a little bit of our secret ingredient, which is some of that rendered bacon fat that came out of the bacon. Okay, so from there, we'll just kind of stir that around a little bit. Now, at this point, this is where you can add that whole ham hock right on top, or you can just pour in your beans. Okay, we've got our bacon pieces in there. We've got our bacon fat in there. Now we're just going to add all of the beans. This is where you would add a ham hock if you want that ham hock just to render out. If you're going to cook this for a couple hours, go ahead and let that cook, let that ham hock cook. If you're only going to cook this for 45 minutes to an hour or so, I wouldn't put the ham hock in because the ham hock takes more time to render out. You're really going to want to cook that for a couple hours prior. So this is why we use, if you can see in here, this is why we use all of those different color beans. When you look in here, you just take 1 spoonful. You've got your red kidneys, your white beans, your black beans, your chili starter beans. Got those pork and beans in there. You've got all of those different flavors. Now you've got the bacon in there so you can really crunch in and get a piece of meat while you're eating your beans. So many different flavors and textures in this pot. Okay, so we've got all of those fantastic colors in there. Looks great. Now on top of this, we'll add our thick cut bacon. Just look at how thick that is. Beautiful bacon. We'll add that right to the top, and that's gonna cook for about 45 minutes and just all render out. Absolutely fantastic. We'll put this back on the grill. Okay, so now that this is cooking, if we had a ham hock in here, I'd let this cook for about at least 2 hours, up to 3 or 4 hours. You don't have to cook it as hot. I'd cook it about 275 and just let that ham hock render, and I'd have the lid about halfway on, just about like that. Today, since we don't have a ham hock and we just have some of the bacon, we're gonna cook it for about 45 minutes, and we're gonna leave the top fully off so that bacon renders, cooks properly, and gets all of that flavor all the way through. So now let's close it down. Let's let it cook at about 350 degrees for about 45 minutes. All right, so our beans have been cooking for about 45 minutes, and we're gonna show you where really all the action is. We've got 17th Street tangy pit beans. We're gonna make those into a Frito pie. I put a few hot dogs on there just because everybody loves some beans and a good hot dog. So let's see where we are. Oh, we're looking good. After about 45 minutes or so, this is exactly what you want to see. A nice bubble on all the beans. The bacon is well rendered. Those pieces are going to actually go inside the hot dogs that we're cooking. Look at that. We'll put those there. We'll bring our plate out and we'll show you how to put these hot dogs together. I mean, just really simple, right? Just basic hot dogs. We threw them on about the last 15 minutes or so. Very easy. I like to take and make some marks in my hot dog. I think they cook a little bit better and they're a little bit more fun to look at. So we've got our dogs. Now you can add, I don't think you need to add any kind of ketchup or mustard or anything to these because these beans are gonna add all the flavor you could want. So we've got 4 of those there. And hopefully we have 4 pieces of bacon unless somebody snuck in here and ate one. Then you just take one of these pieces of bacon. Look, it's almost like pork belly right there. This bacon's so thick. And we're just gonna add a slice right on the side. Look at that. And then we're gonna take our beans. You got that nice crusty layer right across the top. That's all that smoky crusty layer that you're really looking for. You're just gonna slather those beans right inside. And that is how you make probably the best hot dog you've ever had in your life. We'll add another piece of Compart Duroc, almost pork belly, but bacon. Man, this stuff looks so good. It's all rendered down. You get a nice piece of bacon in every bite. And then we'll just add our beans right to the top. Okay, so that's one way that you could eat your chili. We're gonna show you how we get these Frito pies put together. These Frito pies are absolutely fantastic. You just take, this is so down home and such associated with home gating, tailgating, backyard, just Southern comfort food. It's so good. You just take your beans, you open your bag of Fritos, pretty simply. You just take them. At my kids' school, they used to call these walking tacos, and you could put all kinds of ingredients in there. You just dump it right inside. That's it. You dump those right inside of the bag of Fritos. It's all steaming out right there on the outside. It's gonna be hot because they're hot beans. And all of that sauce is just gonna envelop all of those chips. Man, this is a treat. They're so good. They're so good. So you just take those, you put about a scoop in there, and you just kind of toss them up. You could add a little bit of cheese right to the top if you want. I'm just gonna go right in from there. So that's what a Frito pie looks like. You can add a little bit of cheese to that if you want. You can add a little bit of mustard to your hot dog. Who doesn't love mustard on a hot dog? If you want these to look a little bit nicer and you want to serve them inside a little bit more, just grab a bowl, take your Fritos, pour them right in. You might even want to grab some hot sauce, your favorite hot sauce, and then just ladle it right over the top. Put a nice ladle of pit beans right over. Man, they're tangy, they're good. You can add a little bit of cheese if you want. That cheese will kind of melt in there a little bit too. And if you want to make this a little bit more fancy, you can grab some fresh parsley, chop some of that up, and just pop that right over the top. Makes it nice and clean. So there's a few different ways to serve chili beans. I'm Daniel Mosnet with Cowboy Charcoal. If you like these recipes and want to subscribe, we've got a bunch more for you. So hit the subscribe button and come back for more.